Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangam Saranam Gacchami. I go for refuge in the Buddha. I go for refuge in the Dharma. I go for refuge in the Sangha. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangam Saranam Gacchami. All right, so we will start up with our typical 15 minutes of seated meditation. To take up the great affair, you must have a determined will. If you are half believing and half in doubt, there'll be no connection. Chant the Gatha on opening the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. Okay, in our, I don't know, probably 6 week long homework assignment, our next installment of a favorite sutra or teaching is coming to us from uh, a room with a lot of things hanging from the wall, it would appear. Oh, and there's a Buddha. Um, so, our friend from Saigon, Minwi Maitri, will give us the talk tonight.
Um, do we have any coffee drinkers with us tonight? Raise your hand if you drink coffee or tea. Yeah, me too. So I like coffee, and this summer I had the opportunity uh, in the central highlands of Vietnam. The coffee farmer, he took us to his coffee trees, his coffee plants. They were planted uh, lots of different trees. And these different trees were intended to shade the coffee plants because the coffee plants only needed about 40% direct sunlight. The other 60% they didn't need. They needed shade to grow properly. But the trees were not just any kind of trees. Some of them were jackfruit trees. Some of them were peach trees. Lots of banana plants, because this farmer was an organic farmer and he didn't spread fertilizer. The fruits would ripen in these trees and fall out onto the ground and fertilize his coffee plants. So he had lots of different kinds of trees to provide lots of different kinds of nutrients. And so when you drink your coffee and you taste earthiness, it's because that plant grows in the earth. If you taste a hint of fruit, it might be because it was fertilized by some of that fruit. It's an interesting way to see the world, that all things come from something else. In 1989, the Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh gave a Dharma talk called The Art of Flower Arranging. And that's the topic of my discussion tonight. And I'm going to fit that into the coffee plantation here in just a moment. So tonight I'm drinking tea. You might frequently see me drinking. It's 6 o'clock in the morning here in Vietnam. So I usually have coffee, but this morning I chose tea. But this is not just any tea. This is tea from the coffee berry. So the coffee bean grows inside a little berry. And when the coffee farmers take the bean out to dry it out and then roast it, the berry is left behind. And you might think it's just tossed out. This particular farmer saves the berry and dries it out. And then you make tea from it. And it actually has no caffeine in it because the caffeine is either in the leaves of the coffee plant or in the bean itself. But in the fruit, there's no caffeine left over. And so what you get is this fruity tea. It tastes sweet. Doesn't really taste like coffee at all. It tastes a little bit like a dried plum, a little bit like a prune, a little bit like a raisin, and you make tea from it. And it doesn't come out really sweet like a fruit juice, but it's something altogether different. In Thich Nhat Hanh's The Art of Flower Arranging, he would frequently teach this type of lesson to the folks who would come and listen, to the lay devotees who would come and listen to his Dharma talks. And sometimes he would have these at his monastery in France, at the Plum Village. And they had a great big outdoor, not really a farm, garden, big fields, trees, flowers, and he would send the attendees out to pick flowers. And then to come back and make a flower arrangement. And he would use this making a flower arrangement as a metaphor of organizing someone's life. Having a centerpiece, a center flower, having support flowers around it, maybe having other things around it. But the lesson that I learned from this lesson from Thich Nhat Hanh is the lesson he taught on non-discrimination and non-duality. And it's lasted years and years for me in better understanding the Dharma. And that's why I chose this. Thich Nhat Hanh, not unlike the old story of the Buddha holding up a flower and Mahakashapa smiling in the crowd when no one else understood. Thich Nhat Hanh would hold up a flower. He'd say, when I see this flower, I see a beautiful flower. But I also see non-flower elements. I see sunshine that shone down on the plant and encouraged the flower to grow. I see rain that watered the flower and gave it life. I see dirt. I see worms under the dirt that kept the dirt just in the right softness so the plant could grow, the roots could spread, and the flower could bloom. I see nutrients in the ground. I see the little girl from the house across the street lean down and smell it and take in all the beauty and the aroma of a beautiful flower. But I also see garbage, because garbage was made into compost. So old newspapers, eggshells, grass clippings, all thrown into a garbage heap to make compost. And this flower, with its non-flower elements, I can also see garbage. I can see the ocean, because the oceans evaporate, form into clouds. Clouds rain on my fields, flowers grow. Everything around me turns into a flower. The tree dies, branches fall out onto the ground. They disintegrate, turn into dirt. The dirt grows flowers. So in my flower, I have trees, I have bird droppings from birds, I have ocean, I have a little girl across the street, I have wind, I have sunshine, and I also have garbage. Isn't that really a metaphor of our lives? We have all these things that we come into contact with. And in each of us, there are human and non human elements. In each of us, there's garbage that can still turn into something beautiful. One of my favorite quotes of this, and I actually, this was a Dharma talk, so it was a recording. I had to actually transcribe it myself, so forgive me if it's a little broken, but if you ever listen to Thich Nhat Hanh, his English was a little broken, and so I'm not going to try his Vietnamese accent. But he said this, and this is my favorite quote from the whole thing. And he would have people make flower arrangements as part of his Dharma talk exercises that he would do. But this one, he says, I remember at the Ojai Foundation during a retreat for artists, one very special flower arrangement was presented to us before the Dharma talk. And I saw banana peels, I saw sawdust, I saw eggshells together with the flowers. There was one person who said, maybe that this showed disrespect to the Buddha. If you presented on the altar the flowers and the banana peels and the eggshells and the sawdust. I said, no, this is the utmost respect. It shows that you understand the Dharma, and the Buddha would be delighted to receive this flower arrangement. What a great lesson Thich Nhat Hanh was telling us. Garbage is just part of this great world that we live in. And it can transform, like everything else, into the great parts of the world that we see. Thich Nhat Hanh's non-duality, but he didn't call it non-duality. He called it non-discrimination. But it's the same. It's this idea that we're all part of the greater whole. And he tied this into many of his teachings. But it was all part of this teaching of his that was constant. That if we're mindful of the world around us, we see we're all connected. And he gave that same consistent analogy when he talked about death. And he talked about, in another Dharma talk, he talked about his sister dying. And she was really close to him, and he was really close to his sister. And someone asked him, he like, well, you know, Tai, they called him, which means teacher. Teacher, doesn't it make you sad? He says, oh, maybe a little at first. But I realized my sister was everywhere with me. My sister had sister and non-sister elements. And she was like the cloud, the water. So anytime I saw water, I saw my sister. It was raining, and I saw my sister. I see an ocean stream. I see an ocean. I see a stream. I know my sister is there. I see her every time I see water. And just because she's not the water in a glass in front of me today doesn't mean she's not part of, doesn't mean she just disappeared. Her water is just somewhere else now. Maybe it's in the cloud. Maybe it's in the ocean. Maybe it's in the stream. You see, water doesn't stop being water just because we don't see it in the glass in front of us anymore. It continues. Maybe in another form, maybe in the form of ice, maybe in the form of steam, maybe in the form of liquid flowing water, but it doesn't stop existing. These teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh to teach us about non-discrimination, about teaching us the nature of the world, of the universe, of the cosmos, had a very important impact on how I learn to see myself in the world. How I learned to overcome my PTSD, because I realized that the terrorists that caused the bombings that gave me my PTSD probably had terrorist and non-terrorist elements in them. I was influenced by the terrorists. I saw the remnants of the bombing they did in Indonesia, the dead bodies that I had to sort through to find the Americans who were killed there. I stepped through the dust, the blood, the dirt of the bombing sites. Having those terrorist elements did not make me a terrorist, but it made me understand the nature of the world. So next time you see garbage, and I'm reminded of a picture, I think it was in our last Poetry Slam episode, that Unsan had taken a picture of daffodils growing out of a garbage heap or a compost heap or something in his backyard, I think. And I saw that and I thought at the time, I know a darn want to talk about that. When you see garbage, don't think of it only as garbage. It has non-garbage elements. When you see someone who's totally different from you, don't see them as only different. See them as having the same elements that you have. So when the sun shines down on you, it's the same sun that shines down on me here in Vietnam. When it rains in Massachusetts, it's the same water that rains here in Vietnam. When you breathe the air, it's the same air your neighbor across the street breathes. We all share the same elements. We all come from the same places. We all transform back into these non-human elements. See reality in life. And if you do, you are a great offering on the altar of the Buddha.
Thank you for your teaching. I'm glad to have been some inspiration to you.
It was a great picture.
I thought it was great too. It's like, yeah, that sums it up. Garbage heap, narcissus flowers.
And
I came to
flowers.
find out they're not daffodils, they're narcissus. They
Yes.
just sprout out of it. I learned that. So let us resume our next 15-minute period of meditation. If you want to study the path, you must have settled faith so your mind doesn't wander, whether favorable or adverse elements are encountered. Let's chant the Heart Sutra. Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajnaparamita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is saved from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore in emptiness no form, no feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva depends on Prajnaparamita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist, far apart from every perverted view. One dwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on Prajnaparamita and attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore know that Prajnaparamita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the Prajnaparamita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Let's do our personal dedications of merit. I've got a couple, and you can add in whomever you would like to dedicate merit to also. All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially dedicate our service to Brad Hunter, Mike Gingy Wood, John Beck's Chelsong Prajna's stepfather. You can add anyone you'd like now.
JD.
I'd like to dedicate merit to my dear Aunt Jackie, who just passed away at the age of 103, and her daughter, my cousin, who is suffering from an extreme form of Parkinson's, and also for all the people of the Middle East who are in turmoil right now.
I'd like to dedicate to Joanne Sheridan, Bailey Sheridan, Elizabeth St. Laurent, Joseph Giancotti, Clarice Ferreira, and all the people suffering in the world from war and strife.
Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to dedicate one to all those in prison, Palestine, and a special one for Brother Williams, whose name and proper Islamic name escapes me at the moment, but was recently just unjustly executed on sometime yesterday. So may his family find comfort and justice.
Anyone else? All beings in the 10 directions subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Maha Prajna Paramita. We'll recite our faith and practice vow. I will never retreat and will be firm in my mind in this correct Dharma. I will escape from the samsaric cycle of birth and death and definitely will see my original face. I will be sure to inherit the life of insight of the Buddha and save all sentient beings. Give thanks, Brother Hengdal.
The spiritual source shines clear in the light. The branching streams flow on in the dark. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. Birds and trees and stars and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We practice and recite this for all beings, in grateful thanks to our many guides along the way.
And we'll chant the 4 great Bodhisattva vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to help them all. Delusions are countless. We vow to see through them all. Opportunities to awaken are infinite. We vow to embrace them all. The Buddha way is endless. We vow to embody it. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. Strive to realize your true nature and do not squander your time by night or day.